The champagne bottle slipped from my hands, shattering across the kitchen floor just like my heart. Pink bubbles mixed with glass shards, creating a mess that somehow perfectly matched the destruction happening inside me. My phone screen glowed in the dim light, displaying a message that wasn't meant for my eyes. Can't wait for Emma to leave for her business trip. 3 whole days with you, my love. She suspects nothing. The message was from Marcus. My Marcus. My fiancé of 2 years. The man who'd proposed on a beach at sunset, promising me forever. The man whose apartment key I was holding, having arrived a day early to surprise him. But the real surprise was mine to receive. My hands trembled as I scrolled up through the message thread. Weeks of messages. Months, maybe. Sweet words, stolen moments, passionate confessions. And the recipient? Sophia. My best friend since college. The woman who'd helped me pick out my wedding dress. The maid of honor who'd promised to stand by my side. The apartment of lies. I stood frozen in Marcus's kitchen, the champagne still fizzing on the floor around my feet. The apartment I'd helped him decorate. The home where we'd planned our future, discussing paint colors and furniture arrangements for the life we'd build together. How long had I been the fool? My mind raced backward through recent memories, now tainted with new meaning. Sophia's frequent visits when I worked late. Marcus's sudden interest in guy time that left him unavailable on weekends. The perfume I'd found on his coat that wasn't mine, explained away as a random hug from a colleague. The lipstick shade in his bathroom trash that Sophia wore religiously. Every explained away detail now screamed the truth I'd been too trusting to see. I heard keys jingling at the door. My heart hammered against my ribs as I quickly moved behind the kitchen counter, glass crunching beneath my shoes. The door swung open, and there they were. The face of betrayal. Marcus entered first, his arm wrapped around Sophia's waist in a way that spoke of comfort and familiarity. They were laughing about something, their bodies pressed close together in the casual intimacy of people who'd done this 100 times before. Sophia wore one of her signature red dresses, the ones that always made her look stunning. Her blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders in perfect waves. Marcus looked relaxed and happy in a way I rarely saw him anymore. They looked perfect together. They looked like a couple. They looked like the liars they were. Emma's flight doesn't land until tomorrow night, Marcus was saying, loosening his tie. We have all the time in the world. I feel terrible, Sophia said, but her smile suggested otherwise. She's planning this huge wedding, and she'll never know, Marcus interrupted, pulling her closer. And honestly, Soph, maybe this is for the best. You and I, we make sense. Emma's so focused on her career, on her plans. You understand me. The champagne bottle at my feet suddenly seemed laughable. I'd brought it to celebrate our anniversary, the 2-year mark since he'd asked me to be his wife. Instead, I was witnessing the eulogy of our relationship, spoken casually by the man I'd loved. The confrontation. Really, my voice cut through their moment like a knife through silk. I'd love to hear more about how I don't understand you, Marcus. They jumped apart as if electrocuted. Marcus's face drained of color, cycling through shock, fear, and then something worse, calculation. He was already thinking of lies, of ways to talk his way out of this. Sophia's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with tears that formed too quickly to be anything but practiced. Emma, oh my God, this isn't what it looks like. I finished, my voice surprisingly steady. Please, Sophia, don't insult me further. I read the messages. All of them. The ones about your business dinner last Tuesday. The ones about the hotel room 3 weeks ago. The ones about how naive and boring I am. Marcus stepped forward, hands raised like I was a wild animal he needed to calm. Emma, baby, let's talk about this. You're taking things out of context. Context? I laughed, a harsh sound that didn't sound like me. The context is that you've been sleeping with my best friend while planning a wedding with me. The context is that I've been working extra hours to save for our future while you've been building a different one behind my back. What context am I missing, Marcus? The cruelest words. Sophia's tears were flowing now, mascara creating black rivers down her cheeks. I never meant for this to happen. We just connected, Emma. You have to understand it was. Stop. I held up my hand. You don't get to make this about connection or fate or whatever romance novel garbage you're about to feed me. You made a choice. Every single day, you both made a choice to lie to me, to betray me, To let me plan a wedding while you planned your secret life together. Marcus's expression changed then, hardened. The mask slipped, and I saw something I'd never seen before, annoyance. He was annoyed that I was upset about his betrayal. You want the truth, Emma? His voice turned cold. Fine. Yes, Sophia and I have been together for 8 months. Yes, I should have ended things with you sooner. But you made it so damn difficult. You're always so perfect, so planned out, so controlled. Do you know how exhausting it is to live up to your standards? Each word was a dagger, but I stood tall. So this is my fault. I'm too perfect, too organized, and that forced you into her bed. That's not what he meant, Sophia interjected. But Marcus continued as if she hadn't spoken. Every day with you is a checklist, Emma. Wake up at 6. Gym by 7. Meal prep on Sundays. Budget reviews on Thursdays. Where's the spontaneity? Where's the passion? Sophia makes me feel alive. The moment of clarity. Standing there, watching the two people I'd trusted most tear me apart to justify their betrayal, something inside me shifted. The pain was there, sharp and real, but underneath it, something else emerged. Rage. Pure, crystalline rage. You're right, I said quietly, and they both looked surprised. I am organized. I am planned. I'm the one who managed your finances when you nearly bankrupted yourself with bad investments last year. I'm the one who supported you through your career crisis. I'm the one who planned our entire future while you were planning your exit strategy. I pulled off my engagement ring, the 3-carat diamond Marcus had proposed with, and set it carefully on the counter. But you know what? You've actually done me a favor. You've shown me exactly who you both are before I made the biggest mistake of my life. Emma, please, Sophia started, but I was already moving toward the door. I'll send someone for my things. Don't contact me. Don't text. Don't call. Don't show up at my apartment. We're done. Both of you. Marcus's voice stopped me at the door. What about the wedding? We've already sent invitations. People are expecting. I turned back, and the smile on my face must have frightened them because they both stepped back. Oh, don't worry about the wedding, Marcus. I'll take care of everything. The unexpected ally. I made it to my car before the tears came. Great. Gulping sobs that shook my entire body. I'd parked 2 blocks away to surprise Marcus, and now I was grateful for the distance. No one could see me falling apart in the darkness of my car. My phone buzzed. For a wild moment, I thought it might be Marcus or Sophia with some pathetic apology. Instead, it was from an unknown number. I saw you leave Marcus's building. I know this is strange, but I think we should talk. I'm someone who understands betrayal by Marcus Bryant. If you want revenge instead of just walking away, meet me at Cafe Azure tomorrow at noon. Daniel Chun. I stared at the message, confused and intrigued. Daniel Chun. The name was familiar. Then I remembered, Marcus's business rival. The man Marcus had spent months badmouthing, claiming Daniel had stolen clients and sabotaged deals. But what if Marcus had been lying about that too? The seeds of a plan. I drove home in a daze, my mind spinning with possibilities. Part of me wanted to curl up in bed and cry for a week. The heartbroken part that had loved Marcus, that had trusted Sophia, that had believed in fairy tales and happy endings. But another part of me, a part one didn't know existed, wanted something different. It wanted justice. It wanted them to feel even a fraction of the pain they'd caused. It wanted them to understand that betraying someone had consequences. I looked at the message from Daniel Chin again. Revenge. The word felt foreign and exciting. I'd never been a vindictive person. I'd always taken the high road, forgiven quickly, moved on gracefully. But maybe it was time to try a different road. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a wedding venue confirmation for the tasting menu we'd scheduled for next week. Marcus and Emma's dream wedding. The subject line read mockingly. I pulled up Marcus's social media. There he was, smiling in photos with me, professional and perfect. His relationship status, engaged to Emma Foster. His bio, lucky to be marrying my best friend. The lies were everywhere, public and proud. Sophia's profile was worse. Pictures of the 3 of us together, her arm around my shoulders, captions about best friends forever and grateful for Emma. In one photo from just 2 weeks ago, she was helping me address wedding invitations, smiling at the camera like she wasn't sleeping with the groom. The decision. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by wedding planning materials. The seating chart I'd been working on. The vendor contracts I'd signed. The Pinterest boards I'd spent hours curating. Evidence of all the love and effort I'd poured into a future that was built on lies. Then I pulled out my laptop and typed a response to Daniel Chun. Noon tomorrow. Cafe Azure. I'm listening. I hit send before I could change my mind. As I sat there in the darkness of my apartment, I realized something important. This wasn't just about revenge. This was about taking back my power. Marcus and Sophia had tried to write me out of my own story, to make me the fool, the naive woman who suspected nothing. But I wasn't that woman anymore. The champagne bottle I dropped in Marcus's kitchen had been meant for celebration. But maybe it was better that it shattered, because something else was rising from those broken pieces. A new version of Emma Foster. One who didn't just walk away from betrayal. One who made sure the betrayers understood exactly what they'd lost. I opened my laptop and started making notes. If Daniel Chun had information about Marcus, if there was a way to expose the lies publicly, elegantly, perfectly, then maybe this disaster could become something else entirely. Maybe it could become the best thing that ever happened to me. As I finally fell asleep that night, my last thought wasn't of heartbreak. It was of the wedding that was still scheduled for 3 months away. The wedding that 300 guests were expecting to attend. Oh, they'd get a show. Just not the one Marcus and Sophia were expecting. The game had changed, and I'd never been better at strategy. Part 2. The Alliance of Broken Hearts. The Man in the Corner Booth. Cafe Azure was one of those trendy downtown places with exposed brick walls and overpriced lattes. I arrived 15 minutes early, nursing my anxiety with a cappuccino I couldn't taste. Every time the door chimed, my heart jumped. What was I doing here? Meeting a stranger to plot revenge against my ex-fiancée felt like something from a movie, not my carefully organized life. But then again, my carefully organized life had exploded 48 hours ago. At exactly noon, a man walked in who could only be Daniel Chun. He was tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair styled in that effortlessly perfect way that took actual effort. He wore a charcoal suit that screamed money, but it was his eyes that caught me. Sharp, intelligent, and currently scanning the cafe with purpose. When those eyes landed on me, I felt a jolt of recognition even though we'd never met. He walked over with confident strides. Emma Foster? His voice was deep, controlled. Thank you for meeting me. I'm Daniel Chun. How did you know I was at Marcus's building? I asked before he even sat down. No pleasantries. I needed answers. He sat across from me, ordering an espresso from the hovering waiter before answering. I didn't. I was there for my own reasons. I've been documenting Marcus's activities for months. When I saw you run out looking devastated, I made an educated guess. You've been stalking him? Investigating, Daniel corrected smoothly. There's a difference. Your ex-fiancée destroyed my company 18 months ago. I've been very patiently waiting for the right moment to return the favor. The story of betrayal. Daniel Chun leaned back in his chair, and I noticed the weariness in his eyes despite his polished appearance. Whatever Marcus had done to him, it had left scars. 2 years ago, Marcus and I were partners, Daniel began, his espresso arriving. We built a marketing firm together from nothing. Chun Bryant Solutions. We were friends, or so I thought. We doubled our revenue every quarter. We were unstoppable. He paused, his jaw tightening. Then I introduced Marcus to my fiancée, Catherine. She was a corporate lawyer, brilliant and beautiful. I was so proud to have both of them in my life. My stomach dropped. I already knew where this was going. Marcus seduced her. Daniel continued, his voice eerily calm. But that wasn't enough for him. While I was distracted by my crumbling personal life, he systematically stole our clients, manipulated our partners, and eventually forced me out of my own company. By the time I realized what was happening, he'd taken everything. My business, my fiancée, my reputation. Catherine, I asked quietly. Married him 6 months after she left me. Divorced him 6 months after that when she caught him cheating. Daniel's smile was bitter. Marcus has a pattern, Emma. He takes what isn't his, destroys it, and moves on to the next shiny thing. I thought about Sophia, about how Marcus had called her spontaneous and alive. How long before he got bored with her too? How long before she became another casualty of Marcus Bryant's endless appetite? The proposal. So why contact me? I asked. What do you want? Daniel leaned forward, his eyes intense. Because you have something I don't. You're still in his life. The wedding is still on, as far as public record shows. You have access to his world, his friends, his professional network. And most importantly, you have 300 guests expecting a wedding. You want me to use the wedding to expose him? I want us to use everything at our disposal to show Marcus Bryant exactly what happens when you betray people. Daniel pulled out a tablet and slid it across the table. I have financial records showing he's been embezzling from his current investors. I have emails proving he sabotaged his main competitor by stealing proprietary information. I have proof of every dirty deal he's made in the past 18 months. I scrolled through the documents, my marketing brain immediately seeing the patterns. Marcus wasn't just a cheater in his personal life. He was a fraud in his professional one too. Why haven't you released this already? Timing, Daniel said simply. Marcus is about to close his biggest deal yet. A merger with Hastings Corporation worth $40 million. The deal closes in 2 months. If it goes through, he becomes untouchable, rich enough to lawyer his way out of anything. But if someone were to raise questions before the deal closes, to make the investors nervous, to create doubt, the deal falls apart, I finished. And Marcus loses everything. Daniel's smile was sharp. Just like he made me lose everything. The moral question. I should have walked away. The rational part of my brain screamed at me to take the high road, to let karma handle Marcus, to focus on healing and moving forward. But I kept seeing Sophia's red dress, Marcus's casual dismissal of our entire relationship, the 8 months of lies that had played out while I planned a future that never existed. What exactly are you proposing? I asked. Daniel pulled out a leather notebook, flipping to a page covered in neat handwriting. Phase 1, we plant seeds of doubt. You still have access to Marcus's social circles, his professional contacts. We start asking innocent questions, mentioning concerns, making people wonder. Phase 2, I prompted. The engagement party. I assume you're still having one. I nodded. 3 weeks from now? Sophia was supposed to help me plan it. The irony tasted bitter. Perfect. We used the party to release the first wave of information. Nothing too obvious, just enough to make people start investigating. Anonymous tips to the right investors, documents left in the right places, conversations with the right people. And phase 3, Daniel's eyes gleamed. The wedding. Whether it happens or not, that's your call. But imagine 300 guests, all of Marcus's professional contacts, his family, his friends, all gathered in one place. Imagine what would happen if the truth came out then. Not just about Sophia, but about everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every fraud. The hesitation. I sat back, my coffee long cold. This was insane. This was vindictive and calculated, and everything I'd never been. But God, it was tempting. I need to think about this, I said finally. Daniel nodded, standing. Of course. But Emma, think about this. Marcus is already planning his next move. He'll spin the story, make you the villain, the obsessive ex-fiancé who couldn't let go. By the time he's done, you'll be the one who looks unstable. He placed a business card on the table. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to trust yourself. You're smart enough to see through his lies now. Use that intelligence. Make sure he can't do this to anyone else. After he left, I sat alone in the cafe for another hour, staring at his business card. Daniel Chun, CEO, Phoenix Strategies. The Phoenix rising from ashes. How appropriate. The flashback. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying memories, seeing them through a new lens. 6 months ago, Marcus had insisted I stop working with a particular client because they were too demanding. I trusted his judgment. Now I wondered if that client had known Daniel. If Marcus had been isolating me from anyone who might reveal his truth. A year ago, Sophia had suddenly become much more available, always free when Marcus and I had plans, always offering to keep him company when I worked late. I'd thought she was being a good friend. I'd actually thanked her for spending time with him so he wouldn't be lonely. God, I'd been so blind. But the worst memory came from 3 weeks ago. Marcus had come home late, smelling like Sophia's signature perfume. I'd asked about it, and he'd laughed, saying Sophia had hugged him after helping with some wedding surprise. He'd looked me straight in the eyes and lied. And I'd believed him because I trusted him. That's what hurt most. Not just the betrayal, but my own foolishness. I'd prided myself on being smart, observant, successful. Yet I'd missed every single sign. The decision point. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. We need to talk. This is ridiculous. Adults make mistakes. Call me. Adults make mistakes. as if sleeping with my best friend for 8 months was equivalent to forgetting to take out the trash. Another text, this time from Sophia. Emma, please. Our friendship is too important. Let's meet for coffee and talk through this. I know I can explain. The audacity was breathtaking. She actually thought I'd sit down for coffee and listen to her justify destroying my life. I pulled up my wedding planning folder on my laptop. Everything was organized by date, color-coded by priority. The venue, the photographer, the florist, the caterer. Deposits paid, contracts signed, guests invited. $47,000 invested in a wedding that would never happen. Unless. I opened my email and found the guest list. 300 names. Marcus's boss. His investors. His clients. His entire professional network would be there, along with both our families and friends. What if Daniel was right? What if this wasn't just about revenge, but about justice? About protecting the next woman Marcus would seduce, the next business partner he'd betray? I picked up Daniel's business card. The alliance forms. We met the next morning at Daniel's office. Phoenix Strategies occupied the entire 20th floor of a downtown high-rise. The space was sleek and modern, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. You came, Daniel said, gesturing to a chair in his private office. I have conditions, I replied, sitting down. First, nothing illegal. I won't risk my career or reputation by breaking laws. Agreed. Everything I have is legally obtained. Second, I control what happens with the wedding. If I decide to cancel it, that's my choice. Fair enough. Third, Sophia. She's part of this too. I want her held accountable. Daniel's expression darkened. Actually, I've been researching Sophia Walsh. Did you know she has a pattern? She was engaged twice before. Both engagements ended when she was caught with someone else. Both times, she walked away with significant financial settlements. My blood ran cold. You think she's targeting Marcus for money? I think she's a professional opportunist who saw a wealthy target. The question is, does Marcus know he's being played, or is he as blind as you were? The petty part of me hoped Marcus was being played. The better part of me recognized that they deserved each other. So what's our first move? I asked. Daniel smiled, pulling out a thick folder. We start by understanding the enemy. Tell me everything about Marcus's current business deals, his social circles, his insecurities. Then I'll show you how we use that information. The war room. For the next 4 hours, Daniel and I sat in his conference room, mapping out Marcus's world like military strategists planning a campaign. Daniel had information I didn't, and I had insights he couldn't get from research. Marcus's biggest fear is looking stupid, I explained, adding notes to the whiteboard. He obsesses over his image. That's why he always overdresses, why he name drops constantly. His father was a blue-collar worker who thought Marcus's marketing career was frivolous. So public embarrassment would devastate him more than financial loss, Daniel mused. Exactly. And his main investor, Gerald Hastings, is old-school conservative. Family values, traditional business ethics. If Hastings knew about Marcus's affairs, about his business practices, the merger dies, Daniel finished. And Marcus's reputation dies with it. We worked through lunch, ordering sandwiches neither of us ate. The plan began to take shape, elegant and brutal. Phase 1 would begin immediately. I would subtly reconnect with Marcus's business associates, planting casual concerns. Is the merger moving forward? I heard some rumors. Nothing concrete, just enough to make people start asking questions. Daniel would ensure his carefully documented evidence reached the right people at the right time. Not all at once, but in a slow drip that would build momentum. The unexpected connection. It was past 7 when we finally stopped. Daniel leaned back in his chair, loosening his tie. You're good at this, he said. Strategic thinking. Most people are too emotional when they've been hurt. Oh, I'm emotional, I assured him. I just hide it well. He studied me with those sharp eyes. Why did you really come today? The truth. I considered lying, then decided against it. Because I'm tired of being the good girl who gets punished for trusting people. Because Marcus needs to learn that actions have consequences. And because I paused, surprising myself with the honesty. Because I don't want to be a victim in this story. Something shifted in Daniel's expression, a softening I hadn't seen before. Catherine, my ex, she told me after everything fell apart that she wished she'd been stronger. That she'd fought back instead of just leaving. I think about that sometimes. How Marcus just gets to keep winning. Not this time, I said firmly. Daniel raised his coffee cup in a mock toast. Not this time. The first strike. That night, I crafted my first message. Jennifer Hastings, Gerald Hastings' daughter, had been a sorority sister of mine. We weren't close, but we were friendly enough for a casual lunch invitation. Hey Jen, it's been forever. I'm in town and would love to catch up. Are you free this week? Would love to hear about your dad's company. Marcus mentions the merger constantly. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Innocent. Friendly. Perfect. Her response came within minutes. Emma. Yes. Thursday lunch. The second message went to Marcus's assistant, Rebecca, whom I'd always treated kindly. Hi Rebecca. I'm organizing Marcus's schedule for after the wedding. Could you send me his current project list? Want to make sure I don't plan the honeymoon during anything critical. Thanks. This would give me access to his complete business calendar, all his meetings, all his vulnerabilities. The third message was to the wedding photographer. Hi. Quick question about the engagement party photos. We'll have some special guests attending. Can we add an extra hour for candid shots? Marcus wants to make sure we capture all the important moments. Because we would definitely be capturing important moments. Just not the ones Marcus expected. The growing attraction. Over the next week, Daniel and I met daily. Sometimes at his office, sometimes at neutral coffee shops, once at my apartment to review documents. I started noticing things about him. How he listened completely when I spoke, never interrupting or dismissing my ideas. How he remembered details. I'd mentioned once that I liked hazelnut creamer, and it appeared at every meeting after that. How different he was from Marcus. Marcus had always made me feel like I needed to shrink myself, to be less intense, less ambitious, less everything. Daniel seemed to appreciate exactly who I was. You should have been the CEO of your own firm by now, he said one evening as we reviewed my marketing strategies. These campaigns are brilliant. I laughed it off, but his words settled somewhere warm in my chest. The problem was, I couldn't afford distractions. This alliance was professional, strategic. Daniel wanted revenge on Marcus as much as I did. That's all this was. But then there was the moment when our hands touched reaching for the same document, and neither of us pulled away immediately. The way his eyes lingered on me when he thought I wasn't looking. The text messages that became less about strategy and more about checking in. How are you holding up today? The engagement party approaches. 3 days before the engagement party, Marcus showed up at my apartment. I'd been expecting this. I opened the door to find him holding flowers, my favorite tulips. His expression was contrite, perfectly calibrated. Emma, baby please. Can we talk? I let him in, playing the part Daniel and I had rehearsed. I've missed you, Marcus said, setting the flowers on my counter. These past 2 weeks have been hell. I made a terrible mistake. With Sophia. Yes. God, yes. It was a moment of weakness. She came on to me, and I was stressed about work, and it just happened. But it meant nothing. 8 months meant nothing. Interesting. What about the messages? I asked. The ones about me being boring and controlled? He winced. I was angry. You know how you can be, Emma. Always planning, always organizing. Sometimes I felt like a task on your to-do list instead of your fiancé. But I love you. I want to marry you. The scary thing was, 2 weeks ago, this might have worked. I might have believed him, forgiven him, convinced myself that I'd been too controlling, too perfect. But now I saw it clearly. The manipulation, the gaslighting, the way he turned his betrayal into my fault. I need time, I said carefully. The engagement party is in 3 days. Can we just pause everything until then? Then we'll talk. Relief flooded his face. Yes. Yes, of course. Thank you, Emma. I promise I'll make this right. After he left, I texted Daniel. Phase 1 complete. He thinks I'm considering taking him back. His response, perfect. See you tomorrow for final prep. And Emma, you were brilliant. I smiled at my phone, then caught myself. This was professional, strategic, nothing more. But as I fell asleep that night, it wasn't Marcus I thought about. It was Daniel's smile when I'd successfully executed a difficult part of our plan. The way he'd said we instead of I. The way I felt like a partner instead of a pawn. 3 days until the engagement party. 3 days until phase 2 began. 3 days until Marcus learned that underestimating Emma Foster was the biggest mistake of his life. Part 3. When revenge turns to redemption. The morning of reckoning. The day of the engagement party arrived with unseasonably perfect weather. Sunshine streaming through my windows, birds singing, the universe apparently oblivious to the chaos I was about to unleash. I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting my dress for the third time. I'd chosen emerald green, Marcus's least favorite color on me. He always said it made me look too bold, too attention-grabbing. Perfect. My phone buzzed with a message from Daniel. Ready for this? Was I? I'd spent 3 weeks planning this moment, rehearsing every move, preparing for every contingency. But now that it was here, doubt crept in like fog. Another message. Second thoughts are normal. But remember why we're doing this. I typed back. Not second thoughts. Just making sure I'm doing this for the right reasons. His response came immediately. Then let me ask you something. If you walk away now, if you let Marcus and Sophia continue without consequences, will you regret it? I thought about that. About all the future women Marcus would seduce and betray. About all the business partners he'd destroy. About Sophia's pattern of ruined engagements and financial settlements. No regrets, I typed. Let's do this. I'll be there. Not as a guest, but I'll be watching. You're not alone in this, Emma. Something warm bloomed in my chest at those words. You're not alone. The venue of truth. The engagement party was being held at the Riverside Estate, an elegant venue overlooking the water. White tents, string lights, flowers everywhere. I'd spent months planning every detail. 200 guests would be attending, including Marcus's entire professional network. I arrived early, ostensibly to check on arrangements. In reality, I needed to ensure everything was in place for what was about to happen. Rebecca, Marcus's assistant, was already there, looking nervous. She'd been the unexpected wild card in our plan. After I'd asked for Marcus's project list 3 weeks ago, she'd reached out privately. Emma, there are things you should know about Marcus. Things he's done. Can we meet? What Rebecca had revealed shocked even Daniel. Marcus hadn't just stolen clients and sabotaged competitors. He'd been cooking the books, inflating projections, lying to investors. Rebecca had been documenting everything, terrified but unable to report it without proof that wouldn't destroy her own career. Now, that proof was compiled in a beautiful presentation, set to display on the venue's large screens during the photo slideshow portion of the evening. Everything's ready, Rebecca whispered when she saw me. The USB is loaded. It'll run automatically at 8 p.m. You can still back out, I told her. This might get messy. She shook her head firmly. I've watched him ruin too many people, including you. This ends tonight. The guests arrive. By 7, the party was in full swing. Marcus worked the crowd in his element, shaking hands, telling stories, playing the role of successful entrepreneur and devoted fiancé. He'd brought Sophia as a guest, to show there are no hard feelings, he'd told me with that practiced smile. The audacity was breathtaking. Sophia wore red, of course. She avoided my eyes, staying close to Marcus's side. I wondered if she knew what was coming, if some instinct warned her that everything was about to crumble. I played my part perfectly, smiled at guests, thanked them for coming, accepted congratulations on the upcoming wedding. Every conversation felt surreal, like I was acting in a play where only I knew the true ending. Gerald Hastings arrived with his daughter Jennifer, who hugged me warmly. Our lunch 3 weeks ago had been enlightening. Jennifer had been suspicious,